his computer. Right, here we go. I'd just like to welcome my brother, Jeff, to Food for Thought. Welcome, Jeff. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Robbie. Yeah, we have a few things in common.
We do. We share parents. Yes.
Father.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely to be here.
Good.
Looking forward to chatting about whatever it is we chat about.
So, I will tell you the kind of genesis of this moment, if you like, being dramatic as I like to be. I remember that we were going out for the day. I won't talk about where we were. It wasn't that long ago, sort of wintry time, and we ended up in a cafe, and we were having a sandwich and a cup of coffee. And I think I saw you take out your mobile phone, and either you scanned the barcode of the sandwich, or you were busy writing down what was in it. And I just thought,
it's terrible, isn't it?
Oh, what's happened to him? And then you explain what it was you were doing. So over to you. What was it you were doing?
So what I was doing was registering my lunch or my coffee or whatever it was on MyFitnessPal, which had you told me a year ago that that's what I would be doing, I would have laughed, and I would have said, there's no way you're getting me involved in any apps that register my food and drink intake, because I'm fit, I'm healthy enough.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to get involved in dieting.
I mean, the background that's worth knowing really is that you've been a runner for forever, basically.
I've been a runner since I was 18.
Yeah.
I've, thoroughly enjoyed running, and when I was younger, all sorts of sports. But with us all, I think the older you get, you might have the same food intake, but things happen to your body and your metabolism that don't allow you to process it as efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So slowly but surely, I was putting on a certain amount of weight, which I rationalised, and I think there's a lot of self-deception about that weight, and thinking, well, actually, I'm fit. I run a lot, so everything is fine. All right. So let me get to the point why I started this app. Point A was I got a bit ill in 2014, which you know about. Your viewers might not, but I had a small tumour, nothing too serious, but a small tumour nonetheless. And when you have that sort of point in your life, you start to think, what's next, and what can I do apart from the treatment? What can I do to make my life? You're not as healthy as you thought. What can you do to make your life slightly healthier? And I think that was the shock to the system. I think there's often a catalyst. That was probably it. The second point was that I was working very, very hard, as we all do. And obviously, pre-lockdown, we were all commuting huge distances, spending large amounts of work, large amounts of time in offices. Mine was on the edge of the A13. It was not a particularly healthy environment. Working very hard, not terribly well. So what happens then is you start to imperceptibly put on weight. Even though I was doing the running, I was imperceptibly putting on weight. And I think while I was putting on this weight, I was kind of lying to myself a little bit. This is where the self-deception comes in. You think, well, I'm running. I did two marathons and half marathons and 10K, so I was fit. And I thought, and I was about 13, I'd say about 14 stone at that particular time. And I would think to myself, yes, you're fine. You look pretty good. I was 36 waist on the trouser.
Yeah.
And I thought, it all looks, it's all fine. And I would look at my BMI on the websites, and I would say, you're an athlete. So I would look at athletes' BMIs on the website that I found, and I was only slightly off that, so I think that the ideal range was something like 23 or 24, and I was 25, and I thought, well, you're not far away, and you are an athlete. Subsequently, I realised I was looking at the BMIs for sort of, Olympic shot putters, and and javelin throwers. So
Right, not that far
this is
off.
the self-deception. It's like, well, I think you're fine. You don't have to worry about your BMI. And then I was sitting with my friend Paul, who you know in Canterbury. This was a year ago. I was about 14 stone, and I just thought to myself, to hell with this. This is. I'm lying to myself. As a result of the changes in my life, I started a new business, and part of the business is around consulting individuals and organisations about well-being at work. And we were doing some programming around well-being at work. And I was thinking to myself, here am I proposing myself as a consultant or an expert around well-being at work. And I've got this big gut hanging over my waistband. I'm not looking like, regardless of the self-deception I've been doing, I don't look like a well-being at work expert. He was in the same boat. We were both we're the same age. We met at university. We're both similar builds. And we just decided we're going to do something about it. We're in a similar field. We're going to do something about it. I think there's no doubt in my mind that there's a certain amount of vanity in that project as well. I don't think there's any problem with me saying, however old you get, you still want to look good for yourself and for others. You don't want to look in, shop mirrors and changing room mirrors and think, oh my God, how did I get myself into that state? And I just wanted to be healthy physically and mentally and feel like I was leading my life with some sort of health integrity. Having said that, I've always been extremely resistant to counting calories or doing any sort of measuring. I think I felt that, because we all have a sense of, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm exercising and I'm eating fairly well. I've got a few vices, but I'm eating fairly well. It's only when you take yourself in hand and you look at how much you weigh and what you're eating, or exactly what you're eating, do you realise you're probably eating, well, I was eating 1,000 more calories a day than I should be eating.
They say what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah, and I was fooling myself as to I could eat all this stuff because I was running. So I was running 3 times a week and sometimes training for races. And I'd read all the stuff about, it's 80% food and 20% exercise. I thought, well, for me, it's about probably around 40% exercise, but of course it's not. So me and Paul on that day, 30th of June, the upshot is on the 30th of June, 2019, we decided both to go and measure what we were doing. And we looked at our intake for that day. Admittedly, it was his birthday. So we thought, let's look at this, MyFitness. I'm no salesman for the app, incidentally. It's just something that I've used and found successful. So we thought, right, let's look at this and see how much we've eaten in the day. This was at the end of the day. We plug it all in and we guessed how much it was. I knew I'd eaten and drank slightly less than him, and I guessed at around, I think it was about 2,600 calories. I thought we've probably done about knowing my knowledge of food, 2,600 calories. And he thought he'd probably done around the similar, 228, something like that. So it worked out that by the time we got to dinner time, and this was excluding snacks, he'd done about 3,500. And I'd done about 3,200. And we hadn't got started on the beers and the peanuts and the crisps and the ice cream and whatever it was, the nightcap and the peanut, however we were going to finish the day. Yeah. And it made us think, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And I think we got to the point from all the stuff I told you about that I was committed to doing it. So we said to each other, right, let's give ourselves a year. Let's put ourselves on this for a year.
Yeah.
And with another colleague, we will set ourselves goals
Mm-hmm.
for what we want to lose, and we will do what MyFitnessPal tells us to do.
Which is what? Which is what?
Right. So MyFitnessPal asks you to plug in all the food you eat. Now that sounds hideous, but once you've done it the first time, you can scan the barcodes and it remains in the app. So if you eat things, you know, regularly,
yeah.
it becomes that much easier to do it over the course of time.
Right.
There are some things where it's inconvenient to do it. You know, if you're served food in a restaurant, or you cook a big meal at home and it's something new, you can guesstimate the calories as long as you don't do it too often.
Mm.
But what I did with my favourite meals that I repeat at home, especially dinners, is that for the first time I did it, and this was fairly time consuming, but it was worth it, I calculated for my favourite dinners, which I repeat regularly, how many calories is in a serving.
Yeah.
You know, counting up all the things that are in it, and that worked really well. So every day, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, you just plug in the food that you've ate. And I would say after about 3 weeks, it takes no time at all. You have to get used to the stares of your nearest and dearest, and you know, all the mickey taking and sitting in coffee shops with your brother. And the ridicule that's attendant with that.
It's worked. What have the results been in a year on?
Okay, so yeah, this is a very, very long story. So you want to hear the payoff, don't you?
Come on.
So come on. So the payoff is, I started, it was the 30th of June, 2019, 13 stone, 11.6. The 30th of June, 2020, which was a couple of weeks ago, 12 stone, 2.4. So I've lost 23 pounds in a year, and I've kept it off. Yeah, it's been progressive, and I think your mind and your body has to go through some changes, and you have to go through the this isn't working stage or I'm starving stage. But the reality is you're never starving, because what you choose to do is stay within your calorie limit.
So you set yourself a calorie limit?
You set yourself a calorie limit, say, okay, so to start with, I wanted to lose a pound a week.
Okay.
So what it told me was to lose a pound a week
Yeah.
for my height, which is 5'10", and my weight, which was 13 stone, 11.6. You're going to need to limit it to 1,890 calories. I remember that. Plus whatever exercise you do can be added.
Mm-hmm.
So if you run,
yeah,
generally a run's going to lose between 300 to 600 calories, depending on whether you do half an hour or an hour's running.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go up to 2.5, 2.6 if you exercise. I also wear something on my wrist which tells me how many steps. And every time you do 10,000 steps, you lose about 100 calories, something like that as well. Okay. So that can be added to it. So I did that religiously for about 6 months, 7 months, and I lost quite a bit. And then I got to the stage where you don't have to plug in £1 a month anymore. Why don't you just let it go, for 2 weeks? Because you know what you're eating.
Yeah.
Well. I put on 4 pounds.
Did you?
Yes, within the space of about a month or so.
Okay.
So I went back to the app and I said, okay, I'm going to go to £0.5 a week, lose £0.5 a week, or fairly static. Mm-hmm. And that took me up to about 2,100 calories.
Yeah.
I don't limit the type of food I eat, but I've made decisions about, what are my favorite treats? What can't I do without? And what treats do I just nosh and, can have periodically rather than 3 times a week, which I was doing. The upshot is I feel really good. I've lost the weight, I've kept it off. Yeah. I can look at myself. I know that if I go out and do work, I feel more coherent, and I feel like I've got more integrity around the offer I make around well-being and leadership
Sure.
and well-being. You know, if I'm standing up in a classroom, I also teach at a university and do that, I feel better about doing that. So there's definitely something around content and form.
Right.
Um,
Can I just ask a couple of quick
yeah,
questions?
yeah, of course you can.
So first of all, I mean, what about this element of restriction? I mean, we were talking about this the other day. This is the kind of the thing that most people struggle with, and I think you intimated that you struggle with it. You know, don't give me an app, don't tell me what I can and can't do. But and you took on this instruction from this piece of machinery.
Yes.
So how did it feel restricting? Did you feel like you're on a diet?
No. Okay. So I think there's something about the framing of the word diet, about this is what it's always framed in the way, this is what you can't do. And there's something about framing it in your head what do you want from this? You know, how can you frame it as like, what's the payoff, rather than focus on what you're losing? And once the tipping point is reached, you can perhaps reframe the word diet a little bit.
Okay.
And I think I was just, yeah, go on.
The other question I was going to ask is, you know, it was really telling when you said, I went off the app, I gained 4 pounds.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you're now in to some extent, what I feel, like you're in the diet trap, like you're now dependent on this?
I feel it's like Jeffrey's little helper rather than being dependent on it.
Okay.
I think it's been something I was very resistant to, because of everything I've been told about, you know, dieting and health. But you know, it's been so good for me that I figure going back to it is not such a challenge. Wasn't such a challenge. And I didn't want to get to the place that I was before, which was in denial. So I think not being in denial has been so useful that I didn't mind going back to the app. And you know, I'm you know, getting on for 60 now, and it may be that, you know, you can't just shift 6 pounds in the way that I did when I was 30. You do need a little bit of guidance, particularly if you don't want to miss out on the foods that you love, which I do. I love food. I should say this. I love food and I love drink, and I'm not going to give it up. So I think that there's a balance. How do you do that, but also stay fit and healthy? And we're always kind of, you know, looking to do that. So I love my peanut butter. I love peanuts. I love whiskey. I love beer. So how do I do that, but remain healthy eating? And I think you can do those things, but you have to watch the timing of when you eat stuff. When are your weak moments? And like a lot of us, you know, after dinner, there's something about dinner that stimulates my appetite rather than, you know, fulfills it.
Yeah.
I finish eating at dinner and it's like,
what can I eat now?
Everything in my body is saying, I need more. And I know that if I have to resist that every day for the rest of my life, it's not going to work.
No.
So I've worked out after dinner what I can do. And I've counted the calories of what I can do. So one night I'll have a scoop of ice cream, a cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, the other night I've got these lovely little thin ginger biscuits from Sweden, and I'll have 6 of those with a cup of tea. Now, it sounds absolutely hideous, doesn't it? But, you know, when you can have these things that are your favorites, and you know that you're either not going to go above your daily limit, or if you do, it's not a problem because it's a couple of 100 calories. Or even 300 calories. Or 500 calories. Or if I have a big party day, I'll do 3,000 calories. But the general trajectory for my life is going to be a healthy one. And I think when you do that, so that the healthy days are more often than the splurge days, it doesn't feel like a privation. And
so just in the interest of time, I just want to try and think. No, it's fine. It's all good, actually. I just want to think if you had some advice for somebody who's of a certain age, right, who's finding that their body is responding differently to the way it used to.
Yes.
What advice would you give
Well,
them?
you know what? I would say, if you're happy and content and you're not self-deceiving, then you eat and drink what you want. You know, you need to be happy. We're Jewish. We love food. We get lots of positive strokes, don't we? About appetite, have more, eat this. What are you cooking?
Yeah.
What are the recipes? Make some challah. So there's all that cultural stuff that means, there's a lot of good around food and drink, and we get a lot of positive strokes from it. So fill your boots, to a certain extent. And if you want to, and you feel good about yourself and you think you've got that under control, then fine. If you're like me and felt like this is actually escaping me a little bit, and the doctor or other people are telling you,
knock it on the door,
kind of horror, you put on a little bit of weight, or you get a diagnosis that makes you think about rethink your life, and you want to do something about it, then my advice would be, don't try. We all like to do what we like to do, and we don't want anyone telling us, you've got this diet is fantastic, or if you stop eating this, you're going to be fine. If you run a marathon, it's going to help. You've got to do what you want to do, but you got to count it to a certain extent. For me, it's the only thing that has made me lose weight. I think I was in self-deception that I could get by without counting it. And the reality is that I was overeating every day. Hence why I could never lose my guts.
Right.
And unless I counted, and that doesn't mean, eating broccoli for the rest of your life.
No.
It just means eating what you like, but just be more mindful. And because I do a lot of mindfulness stuff in my training, it's be a bit more, get alongside what it is that you're eating every day. If you're having a celebratory breakfast at the weekends, then think about lunch. If you want to have 6 helpings of cholent on Saturday, then think about Sunday. If you don't want to run or tennis or squash on one day, then think about 2 days' time. Have a bit of a plan.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that has shifted for me is a little bit of counting, a little bit of counting of what goes in. For me, what goes out was not the issue, because I was always doing that. I don't think I'm doing a lot more exercise than I was before.
Right. But
23 pounds don't lie.
No.
And and I lost it slowly and carefully. So I that's the other thing. We've all got the zeal of the converted. In the first week, 2 weeks, and it's easy on that app to set yourself targets. I'm going to lose 3 pounds a week, and then you do lose 3 pounds a week for a month, or even 2 weeks, and then you realise this is not sustainable. It's not fun. I hate it. This is dieting. This is awful. I can't eat anything I want, and then you yo-yo. So it's in for the long haul, and reconciling your head to the fact that it's in for the long haul. I will probably stay on that app. I don't know how long for. I'm at a weight that I'm really comfortable with. I wanted to be at that weight. I could lose more, but I don't want to lose more. Who needs scraggy neck at 60? I need to sit like this most of the time.
Right.
But yeah, I want to be around for my grandchildren. And there's motivations, and those have to be in your head first and foremost, and then the actual process.
You need a why. Start with why, as they say.
Yeah.
Start with your mindset.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So I'm really sorry about all the rambling, but I've got a bit.
Perfect. You're passionate.
I am passionate about this. Yeah. And I don't want to, come across like I've done it so you can. It is not that. I would say I was overweight for 25 years, probably.
Yeah.
Not substantially so, paunchy and jowly, and you know, and convincing myself that I wasn't, and thinking that, you know, all my stuff was fine. And it's been lovely going out and having to buy new clothes. And there's
Absolutely.
a payoff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much.
That's all right, my love.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed gassing away. And
Good.
sorry if it's been a bit
It's been lovely. Thanks so much. I'm just going to stop
Okay.
recording.
All right, love.